Criminal charges have been filed in North Carolina against a 20-year-old mother whose toddler was apparently seen smoking marijuana in video footage posted to Facebook that went viral. More than 1.5 million people watched the video, and many of them contacted authorities who began investigating the mother, who appears to have been the one who posted the video. A statement from Raleigh police says the 10-second clip shows the child, who is one, in a car seat as an adult's hand enters the frame holding what police allege is a marijuana cigarette. The adult holds the joint to the child's lips. The child inhales and lets out a puff of white smoke. Raleigh Police Department officers have arrested Brianna Ashanti Lofton, the mother of the baby seen smoking. In a video posted on Facebook, says the statement, she was charged with 2 counts of felony child abuse, contributing to delinquency and possession of marijuana, and transported to the Wake County Detention Center. The child is now a ward of the state. Big thanks to everyone who posted information about the smoking mother of the baby, reads a post to the Raleigh Police Department's Facebook page. I think I skipped something up here. No, so that's it. Now, I appreciate the person who stuck around to actually hear me state the story. But um, people do anything for views. Oh, of course, O'Donohue. But this actually is a very, I would say, twofold issue, because a lot of times I go and speak on some story, it's because, oh, this one thing happened that was so messed up. But really, this encompasses everything that's wrong with current day parenting in general, and just kind of serves as a bit of a narrative pusher for my own agenda, if you call it that. So, firstly, you have a person who, just as O'Donohue was saying, is doing anything for views. Will take this any just think of something unorthodox to put out online and hopefully get views, and it did get views. It succeeded in that goal, um, and it's done without the thought of ramifications, because we know that the idea of a child doing drugs, especially when it's only what 300 days old, is asinine, to put it in a manner that is blunt. So she knew that would attract attention, but there wasn't a thought that, hey, maybe this attracts attention because it's something that is viewed as obscene or otherwise just strange in the most bizarre ways possible. Um, but also notice how at the end of the article they mentioned that after she was transported to jail, the child now being awarded the state. So that basically confirms to you that whoever she ended up getting, knocked up by, proceeded to exit the life of the child. And look, we don't know the circumstances relating to, what how this union of theirs went. But think to yourself this: you have an absentee father, and again, we don't know anything about the guy, so I'm not necessarily going after him. Um, but you have the absentee father, and you have a mother who, by virtue of having a vagina, was able to have a child that, thanks to the father also not being around, she could essentially become the one person in charge that made any choice. And because of her mental state, however messed up it is, she was able to put a joint in this kid's mouth at 1 year old. You know, and I think I've stated this before, and some of you that have seen prior content will be familiar with this. We have laws about when someone can have a license, when someone can have a job, when someone can um, just do many things. But to reproduce, all you need are your biological functions, and no one sees that as wrong. And we live in a country where we talk about individual rights and freedoms and being able to just, you know, um, do anything you want that is within the realm of the law, and having these loose laws. But ask yourself if that freedom allows us, even as messed up as our minds are, to reproduce and destroy the lives of those we create. Then what good have those freedoms done for anyone but us? We get to have these sexual conquests and desires, at the behest of paying attention to the life of anyone that might become involved as a result of someone getting knocked up. There are no major outlets that are going to complain or raise that issue. VVS says it's the same exact story, just a different day. Yeah, but understand something. Um, if a woman wants to have, we've spoken on here about how women don't have to try at all to get dates, to have these relationships that oftentimes involve having sex over and over again until the cows come home. So if a woman wants to reproduce, all she has to do is just kind of sit pretty, um, and some guy will come frolicking toward her. Whereas if a man is in the same situation of wanting to become a parent, even if he's prepared himself financially, if he's mentally all there, it is still up to him to have to figure out how I'm going to appeal to the opposite sex, who at this point, many of its members will jump in bed with anybody, which can be applied to men as well. But there's this repeated line about how women are more likely to show empathy and motherly instincts toward children, when in fact, with a lot of these stories I've spoken about, the main people who I've seen complaining about the lack of just any concern for the child are other males. Okay, O'Donohue says women have too much power when it comes to custody of children. Yeah, but also understand that it's not just about the court system. I'm referring to the general structure of human interactions. Because remember, you have men who will see a woman walking down the street and, they will talk about, I want to smash her, which means I know nothing about this person, but because she looks physically appealing to me, um, I would just lay up in bed with her, and whether or not she gets knocked up or not, I'm not going to be concerned with if the child that is potentially involved in this scenario um, is screwed up by having this, wacky mother that has her mind out of whack. And I do apologize for the redundancy of that, um, of using whack over and over. So the two main areas of frustration for me are reading about some kid that it has had its life. And again, you have to understand the situation it was in was already bad. You have a mother who was stupid enough to put a cigarette or marijuana or whatever in your mouth at a year old, but now you're a ward of the state, which means I think we actually do have some statistics about um, what is this? Eminu, I can't pronounce your name. That's not an insult. I really cannot pronounce your first name. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing your last name correctly. Stop complaining about the gender roles. The courts did not see the father as the better support of the child, and the custody goes to the mother. Wait, who's complaining about gender roles? I'm just bringing up what is conducive to how we function and live, and why the system is failed. Why would I not complain about a system, be it one instituted by the government or one instituted by man, where you have an entire race group, referring to African Americans, where 70% of the children are born out of wedlock. And we have statistics which prove that children with the lack of presence of a male figure are more often to have, to put it in a manner that is abridged, lackluster lives, be it incarceration or poverty. These are things that afflict those groups. And those same gender roles that you're speaking of in the present era have not yielded good consequences for that group. Okay, VBS says, I seen a father last week try to get custody of his daughter who was killed by his mother, who the court felt was the better parent. Hell yeah, I'm going to complain. Exactly. But you also, VBS, I know Donahue and, and maybe somebody else I'm kind of thinking of. I don't know who William was talking about when he said hero. This is what I fail to get about a lot of people who try to say Don't speak about this. Don't criticize this. Don't talk about this. The current predicament is awful. You go back to the 40s, 50s, 60s. People complained about racism, um, but you didn't have groups struggling internally. This we're gonna start using racial stuff here. This black child had its black mother stick marijuana in its mouth at a year old. That had nothing to do with anyone but the person who, because of their biological components, was certified by the world as being allowed to reproduce. And look, the whole thing of these groups going out and screwing each other up, that hasn't been the case for just the span of history. But it actually is the scenario now, and we're not even just speaking about um, you know who parents misusing their children. You have a lot of people who bought into this idea that illegal immigrants were the main purveyors of our crimes, which is false. That illegal immigrants are taking our jobs when in reality they're working a lot of positions that most of us American-born individuals wouldn't want to take on. So we end up causing our own problems. Most of our mass shootings, our domestic acts of terrorism, are orchestrated by people who are born on American soil. Um, and look, not to get too off topic, but what needs to be understood is that you can't. What is this? Men choose just as well as women do. Keep the sperm in the condom if you are unsure. Hey, you're preaching to the choir, but again, I'm not the one who is making the protocol for that. I've spoken about the need for accountability on both sides. Um, so I'm already keeping keeping that in play. What you're saying there. Okay, what else is here? And really, I wouldn't complain about gender roles if they were actually fulfilled to the extent that they should be. So, like how they say mothers are instinctive of wanting to protect their children. Maybe if this mother wanted to protect her child, she wouldn't have put a joint in its mouth. That's what a caring mother would do, not do rather, expose her child to drugs. Maybe if the father was the true, you know, paternal figure who we so often speak of, maybe he could have been there for his kid. Okay, there was a guy who did the same thing who was an honor roll student that got his nephew or something to smoke weed. He was 17 a few years back. Yeah, two wrongs don't make a right. Um, and again, the purpose of this is to say that you have a woman sticking this in an infant's mouth that she has prior background with, and doing this for the purpose of getting views on the internet. So if people can't see where that's messed up, I don't know what else to tell you. But thank you for watching the stream, and hopefully you left out of here with a higher understanding of this situation and just kind of some commentary on it.